Catching up on Katana Zero here at a very noisy and crowded mix at GDC. Justin, tell us, what kind of game is Katana Zero?
Well, Katana Zero is a neo-noir action platformer. It's very, very fast-paced. Everyone dies in one hit. You, the enemies, everybody. It focuses on tight, fast, acrobatic combat. You can slash bullets in midair, kill people with them. You can slow down time. You can wall jump. You can do everything that you really want to.
So what kind of inspiration do you have for this game? What kind of things are you sort of taking from?
Well, the 80s, obviously. There's crazy neon lights everywhere. Bumping synth-pop soundtrack. Gotta love that. And also samurai movies, Seven Samurai. Just the sort of Eastern culture and, the whole story is basically about that, but we're not really delving into story right now. Gameplay-wise, it's kind of based on all those indie games that have really tight, fast-paced, instant death combat.
It's one of those sort of easy to get into, but very difficult to master kind of thing?
Extremely difficult to master. I still die all the time.
Is it a linear thing or a roguelike, or what's the structure?
So it's definitely not a roguelike. No procedural generation. Every single level is handcrafted. Lots of love put into all the level design. I like the idea that every level has something special in it. You have to introduce some sort of new mechanic, throw some sort of new thing at the player every single stage, otherwise they'll get bored. Everything is a new sort of challenge and a new way to twist your thinking and a new appreciation of all the game mechanics.
Could you give an example of how you sort of achieve that?
I would like to be able to show you an example. Can I?
Go ahead.
All right. Well, let's start off the game.
So the factor level, you got to have a factor level in?
Gotta start with the two most generic levels, factory and hotel. So here you can already see the time slow mechanics.
Oh, I really love the animations here.
Yeah, thanks. So the dialogue system is very much based on Telltale games where you have a limited amount of time to respond to people. And that gives you the main thing that I want to avoid is people feeling that there are big, how do I explain it? There are big choices to be made, and instead there's a lot of little choices that you don't have time to look up. So you're never going to be like, oh, should I go to the right or to the left? I have to look this up online. Instead, it's constant little choices that change the outcome of the game as you make it. At the same time, also you have the ability to interrupt. So if players actually just want to skip all the dialogue, they can go ahead and, not really care and just piss off all the characters by interrupting them all the time.
So how branching is the narrative then if you have all these little choices, or is it?
The overall story is going to be the same for most players unless they go very far off in one end or the other. But what does change is players' interactions with other characters. It really just... Sorry, I'm going to try to skip through this. The way the character interacts with other people changes. If you keep interrupting someone, then they're never going to be nice to you in the future, and that actually might end up making future levels more difficult for you. So here in this first level, we learn the mechanic of Chronos, which is sort of one of the main game mechanics, which is time slow. So here in this first level, I can show you this. You learn basic slashing, kill some enemies, pop open some doors, and you slow down time, and then you kill them again. And so the idea of Chronos is that you're not actually playing through the level, but you're planning it out. So now that I've actually finished my plan, I can see the security cam footage, which is a little treat to show you everything you did in real time, including all the slowdown mechanics. So I can fast forward, I can rewind. This is security cam footage.
Neat.
So here in the second, so you see in each screen I'm introducing new mechanics. So this one I'm introducing little laser lights. And the idea is everything that happens teaches the player something new, a new way to interact with the world, a new way to interact with other characters, enemies, and so on. So right here we're learning the dodge roll, which is an important mechanic because it makes you completely invincible. And it's definitely very important for combat. So right here I'm kind of using it on lasers, but later on I'll be using it on enemies.
Really feels like a game that could be like designed for speed runs and the like.
Absolutely, it's very difficult. So I'm actually really looking forward to seeing people try to speed run this, especially since I can't even do it. So here's a little interim thing. At the end of each level, there's a little home scene where you go home and you kind of de-stress from your whole day, you know, being a stressful serial killer sort of guy, hitman. So a nice little home scene.
What does that do?
It changes the overall story. Your home scene sort of is how the overall story progresses. There's a scene with a psychiatrist at the beginning of every level, and at the end of every level there's a scene at home. And the way those scenes change and progress reflects your overall mental state, the overall state of the story. Key events in the plot happen there.
Mental state. So there's like
there's a lot of mind-blowing moments where your character, because this is a time manipulation drug, right, Chronos? So timelines are affected a lot. You aren't really sure what's going on, if it's real or not. There's a lot of uncertainty to pretty much everything that happens, especially later on in the game when you start going through withdrawal. And your withdrawal symptoms end up making you unable to stay concentrated on your current timeline. So you start flashing forward in time, flashing backwards in time. Everything gets really confusing.
Sounds wonderful in a way. But yeah, it's a little bit like, because this sort of game, typically the story's kind of like in sort of the retro fashion, it would be just like save the girl or destroy the bad guy. This is a little bit more...
It's definitely not in that style. Actually, the plot is almost completely... it's a combination of all my favorite movies. It's sort of like Drive and some Quentin Tarantino movies, some Korean revenge thrillers. It's everything mishmashed into one. And it's kind of like the movie that I wish existed but doesn't, and I sort of spun that into a game plot.
And then where are you at in development, and when's it coming out?
I would say probably another year of development. Very late 2016, early 2017.
And what platforms are you aiming for?
At least PC, Steam. But if not that, then, well, obviously PC and Steam. But very hopeful for every other platform.
All right. Thank you so much for your time.
All right. Thank you.